Hello everyone, Elliot here again. Welcome to 2019. Massive thank you to everyone who has been watching my videos and supporting me throughout 2018. It was an absolutely huge year for myself and the channel, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now it's time to get into some cheap Chinese rubbish. So we're going to be looking at the Retro Games console, which is basically a fake Game Boy Advance. Now, for those of you who have been watching my channel for the past few weeks, you will remember I did a video on this, which is another fake little Game Boy Advance, and I've also made a video on this, which is a custom backlit Game Boy Advance, which I don't have any batteries in right now, but this is actually a backlit Game Boy Advance with a proper nice LCD screen with a backlight in it. Very, very similar devices. Obviously, this one's a lot smaller, and this one has kind of your generic Famicom titles and stuff on it, which is, not ideal. It doesn't play Game Boy Advance games. This one isn't going to play Game Boy Advance games either. That's a no-brainer. But we might get a nicer quality screen and some decent games. I'm hoping we're going to get some decent games because it says it has 400 built-in games into it. I paid £17 for this, $16.99, with £1 shipping. I decided to get the white version, although it does come in blue, red, and black. It says it comes with a console, an AV cable, a USB cable, and a user manual, which is going to probably be quite funny. I also thought what we'd do in this video is take it apart as well and see what it's like inside and see if it's usable for a Raspberry Pi and maybe see what they've actually done inside it. One thing they have done is stuck a bloomin' sticker over the description on the side, which is pretty ideal. I mean, it's probably going to be pretty crap anyway, but okay, I've gotten the sticker off to the extent that you can actually now read the side, which is kind of worth it, to be honest. It says digital game system, 3-inch super wide LCD. The console is slim, full stop, because obviously punctuation in China isn't exactly top notch. Portable and trendy, that's right, you're going to be trendy when playing this. Digital multi-platform device, can play on TV. The backlight function of the screen ensures player can play everywhere. With powerful rechargeable battery pack, includes an AC adapter and a lithium-ion rechargeable battery for 6 hours of continuous gameplay. Made in China, as if that wasn't obvious already. Then we've got a little graphic on the side of the box just to show the console. Reset key, AV interface, USB port, game keys, volume key, open key, start select, and arrow keys. One of the things that interested me on this, and someone showed me this on my Facebook page, so a big thank you to them. I believe it might have been Charlotte, might be wrong on that. And yeah, it said Game Boys on the actual bezel where it says Game Boy Advance here. So that would be quite interesting to see if that is actually the case and how on earth they got away with that. So here it is, it's upside down. Comes in a nice little plastic bag, which always feels like a nice, high quality product. Then we've got the manual, which of course is looking good. And then we've got a mini USB cable, micro USB not yet, and an AV cable to plug it into your TV. So here we go, here is the console, and it does actually say Game Boys on it, which is quite funny. Obviously the font is nothing like the original Game Boy Advance font, but it does have a chrome shine to it, just like it does on the Game Boy Advance. So it's super cool, pretty similar size, if not absolutely identical. Obviously you can see that it's not the exact same shell because there is a power switch down here where there would be, oh well, it's more or less the same kind of design, but I really like the clear shell. Actually, it does look quite interesting. It's far larger than the previous one that we looked at, and it's got a screen protector on it, so let's go ahead and take that off. That's always a satisfying thing to do. Oh, lovely jubbly. Okay, so plastic screen. Oh no, it looks like the adhesive for the screen has stuck out, so it is just stuck out there, which is lovely. Although it does actually look like the screen is an identical size. So if you turned out to love this thing, you could put a glass screen in it. The buttons feel great. The buttons feel incredibly authentic. We've got micro switched LNR, which some people actually do like. the more kind of tactile feedback. This one's a softer press. But the A and B button and D pad feel almost identical. You have got a rubber start and select as well, although the one on the fake GAMEBOYS is a little bit more rubbery. Big speaker on the sides, power, and then looks like there's a reset button at the top there, which is absolutely tiny. So, oh, you can press it with your thumbnail though, so that is okay. And then we've got the AV port there, and then there's even fake, you know, the kind of grip slots for the adapters that went on the top of the Game Boy, which is rather interesting. Nothing where the game cartridge would go. So in terms of, you know, a Raspberry Pi, this thing it feels like a nice high quality case. And the benefit immediately that I can see is that because there's no cartridge slot, if you wanted to put a Pi in this, you've got far more room. It's also the same thickness. It seems to have more or less the exact same dimensions, so really, really cool. Right, Nokia battery inside as well, which is good, always nice. Power it on. And we haven't got the same music. That's actually quite satisfying. D-pad feels great. So then we can see the game selection on the front here. Let's have a quick look at the manual briefly. Thank you for purchasing Retro FC Play Version Portable, full stop. Retro FC Play Vision Portable product designed for many hours of game playing fun. The product is small and portable so you can take it anywhere! Exclamation mark. Please read the following contents prior to connecting and playing to ensure proper use and care. Do not disassemble or try to repair. Well, screw that, we're going to be disassembling it anyway in a minute. But yeah, let's have a quick look at the games for those of you who may buy this for games. So we've got Super Mario Bros, Super Mario Bros 3, Dr. Mario, Mario 14, which I imagine is probably a ROM hack. Pressing L and R seems to start the game, so that's a little bit awkward. Yeah, so we've kind of got the generic games on here, to be honest with you. They're not bad games, obviously they're mainly just Famicom games. We have got a volume wheel on the side. The volume is actually very, very loud, so that's quite cool. Right, let's try Super Mario Bros 3. By now I know, oh, okay, you gotta press A to start. By now I'm pretty good at judging the speed of this thing because I've played so many of them. I've had a lot of comments, so I've done my research and we'll be able to find out if this is too fast or too slow. So immediately, it looks pretty bloomin' good. So you can see there, the colors look great. The brightness is, you know, it doesn't need to be any brighter than that. The screen quality is actually very, very nice. I've seen worse, I've seen better, but it's very, very nice nonetheless. This one actually says Super Mario Bros 3, so they haven't, you know, tried to take that out to avoid copyright. Music so far sounds absolutely perfectly sped, like, if that's the right word, perfect speeds. So let's move into the first level. One thing I'm noticing slightly is the D-pad. Oh, okay, so it is running a little bit slow, but not unbearably so. Just a little bit. A little bit of frame, not so much frame rate, it's more so like screen tear, but that's kind of what you'd expect on these slightly cheaper screens. But that being said, for under £20, this thing does feel great. It does have a backlight, so if you're going to travel around and you wanted something cheap to take with you, but you maybe didn't want to take your actual Game Boy, and then you know this is pretty decent. If you wanted to mod this for a Raspberry Pi, then you could do that as well. Let's have a look at another game quickly. We'll play the classic Super Mario Bros, which is probably one of the main reasons I would use this. That looks pretty good right there, to be honest. So please be the right speed. Oh no. Well, I should mention that the D-pad, it is a little bit awkward to get definitive direction on it. If it's easy to, I think, press 2 at the same time. The D-pad feels great, but I think maybe the black contacts underneath probably aren't making a great connection. So yeah, unfortunately, Super Mario Bros is sped. It's a little bit slow. But that being said, the music is far slower than the actual gameplay, so it might be just like placebo that it's actually the gameplay is running slow, because the music's very, very slow. But the gameplay seems to be okay, if that makes any sense at all. These things, I always have a soft spot for them, to be honest with you. I like that this is in the same shape as an actual Game Boy Advance. It's really, really cool. It's interesting to see that they've slapped Game Boys on there. Obviously Game Boys isn't the word Game Boy, so they're somewhat getting away with it, but I'm sure they'd probably still be breaking copyright infringement if China had copyright infringement. So this seems to be running okay. I should admit at this point that I haven't played a lot of Contra on the actual real hardware, so I'm afraid to be able to give my absolute judgment that this isn't running too slowly. But it seems to be working absolutely fine. I'm having a good time shooting these people. Seems to be running absolutely fine. Looks great. The buttons are responsive. It's just that D-pad is a bit easy to press. You might be wondering what the L and R buttons do. They seem to be turbo buttons. So the left button makes you just repeatedly jump, and the R button doesn't seem to do a lot in Contra, but it's probably just another turbo button. So there we go then, pretty interesting. The games aren't too dissimilar from what we're used to seeing, but that being said, it's still a nice enough device. Nice high quality plastic, which is always nice to see. So let's have a little teardown of this thing and see what it's like inside. So obviously it does have a 3-inch screen. So for those of you who are thinking of getting a Raspberry Pi in here, that's immediately something to consider. Although I do know that people use Game Boy Advance, actual Game Boy Advance shells for their Raspberry Pi builds. So that makes me think that if you're going to use one of these things for a Raspberry Pi, then there's probably screens out there that you could use and options available for custom fit bezels. Maybe just even getting like a clear glass one, so that if you need to enlarge in the screen hole to use a bigger screen, then you can use a plastic, a clear glass screen if you wish, without the black bezel around the side. So there we go. There's 5 screws to get into the back, and then we're greeted by this massive, massive cheap PCB, which has another 4 Phillips screws on it. So let's go ahead and remove that. I'm going to reiterate the point that the quality of this outer shell does feel exceptionally good. It feels pretty similar to this little Game Station mini Game Boy Advance that we had a look at. So yeah, I think they're definitely improving on the quality. I think it's probably now because there's more of a demand for these things. So they're buying better plastic to use in the molds because they're bulk ordering it to make lots of them. Okay, so we've got the battery contact there for the battery. We've got a little potentiometer for the volume, and if we just lift everything else out, it should all pop out quite nicely. Here's our D-pad. You probably could replace that with an actual Game Boy one. Obviously, you might have to do some cutting up to the little points where it connect to, because they're not the same as an actual Game Boy Advance D-pad, but you could still probably stuff it in there and it would probably work okay. So there's the speaker, there's the screen. The screen is smaller than an original Game Boy. You can see there, if I turn my actual Game Boy Advance on, that the screen isn't the exact same size as the original Game Boy Advance. So you might want to get a new screen lens. You can see there the bezels are slightly bigger. You might want to get a new screen lens and put a bigger screen in there if you did do a Raspberry Pi mod to this, which is probably what I might do. I know I've had a lot of demand to make a Raspberry Pi portable handheld, so totally something I'd be keen to do. Buttons look to be the exact same size, so if you wished to use your original Game Boy Advance buttons, then you could do that. And yeah, looks pretty good, to be honest with you. Other than that, it's cheap. I doubt you'd be able to reverse engineer this if you wanted to use the same screen, but there's higher quality screens available out there for pretty inexpensive amounts. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know in the comments section below and leave a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and let me know what you would do if you bought one of these things. I'll leave the link to it if you would like to buy it in the description below. Hope you have a lovely 2019 and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.